Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Jerel. Hendricks. Got a very special interview today for a ring season recap. A very special guest, the head coach of the 2024 4A state champion South Florence Bruins, Drew Marlowe. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
We appreciate your time. We really do. If this is you guys' first time tuning in, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter/X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains. Our website, movinchains.com, and our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. This was Coach Marlowe's fifth season as the head coach of the Bruins, and they went 12-3 in 2024 on their way to their second 4A state title in 3 seasons. Coach, you know, we've had the privilege to see you guys play quite a few times the last couple of years, and even though maybe the names and faces may change, it feels like you've got, you know, a pretty strong identity there with that Bruins program. But for folks who maybe haven't seen you play, what do you really consider maybe the style that you guys like to play on both sides of the football?
Yeah, I would think that, probably most people would describe us as being boring. We're sort of old-timey football. We like to run the football. We run gap schemes. We like to be physical, and then throw the ball off of play action and RPOs and stuff like that. We don't do very much drop-back passing at all. You know, defensively, we were down a lot this year on defense, but, in years past and what we hope to recreate this upcoming year is just a tough, physical, hard-nosed defense that's scary to play against.
Coach, you guys scored 41 on offense this year and then gave up 24 on the defense. Who are some of the star players that really helped you guys in the state title run and throughout the season to get you to this point?
Yeah, especially on offense, we had so many guys contribute. We rarely had a guy on a Friday night who had a, quote unquote, big game. I mean, we had so many games where we had like 5 different guys score a touchdown. And so, I think football always starts, with your quarterback, and Messiah Jackson did, really an outstanding job of leading and running our offense this year. Everything ran through him, and he really, really did a great job of distributing the ball, running the ball sometimes, knowing what to do with the football. So he did a great job for us. We had 2 big-time receivers, and Jaden Sellers and Lennox Valerie. Both of those guys had big years for us. And then the running back position was truly a challenge the whole year, really, until we got to the playoffs. Our top 3 running backs coming into the season were all out by halftime of our first game of the year. Our starting running back, Riley Jett, towards ACL on the second play of the season. What would have been our second string running back, Zion Gilbert, pulled a hamstring in our second scrimmage and missed, I think, 4 or 5 games. And then Trey Leonard, who was, quote unquote, the third string tailback, at the very beginning of the year, got hurt right before halftime and didn't play the next, I think, 4 games. And so we had to finish our first game of the year against West Florence with, a JV tailback who we just happened to dress up because we didn't have a JV game that night. And then he goes down 2 weeks later, and, we're on like our second string JV tailback at Northwestern, and, Northwestern just beat us like we stole something from them. So at the end of the year, that position was strong for us, I think, in large part because, those 2 guys, Zion Gilbert and Trey Leonard, didn't get to play, truthfully, the first half of the regular season, the first 5 games, and probably allowed them to be fresh all the way towards the end. Normally, our running backs come into the state championship game kind of, definitely not 100% just because it's been a long year for them. But I think both of them only had about 150 carries this year, which is about 100 carries less than what we normally have a tailback entering a state championship, having run. So in the end, it worked out for us there. And then, if you watch us play any this year, you saw how dominant we were up front with our tight ends and our offensive line. When I got here 5 years ago, I met with the whole team, and then I told the offensive line to stay behind. And I told them that we were going to build this program on their backs and that they were never going to receive any credit for anything we did. But every bit of success we had was going to come because we were really, really great up front. And I think this year was a culmination of 5 years of working towards that. Defensively, we only returned 3 starters from the last year, and we struggled to find our way on defense. I think that throughout the year we were constantly trying to find the best 11 to go on the field. Had to fight through some injuries and honestly just fight through a lot of guys who were inexperienced. I think, by the time the season got over, we started 9 different guys who had never even dressed on a Friday night before at different points of the year. And so we had to overcome inexperience throughout the whole year there. But I'll tell you this, our defense made plays when we had to have them and had big games when we had to have them. I mean, we go to North Augusta and we go down 20-0 at the end of the first quarter. And our offense has given up 2 touchdowns. We have a fumble 6 and a pick 6, and our defense gives up 1 big play. We're down 20-0, come back, barely win the game, but it was on their backs. We wouldn't even been there without them. And then, as much as, Westside really torched us, we made the 1 play when we had to have it with that, that 2-point conversion stop and made them punt 2 other times. And so, they were good enough, but we knew coming into this year, just like last year, last year we knew our offense was not very good and that we would need our defense to play big for us. It was sort of, just the opposite this year. So hopefully next year we'll be able to be good on both sides.
Coach, you guys have a great staff there that have been together for a while. It feels like. Who are some of those guys that really make your program tick and kind of keep the guys on the right path and heading towards the right direction there?
Yeah, everything for us is going to always start in the weight room. I've got a great strength and conditioning coach in Sean Armstrong. He was the first hire I made when I got here. As a matter of fact, I told him I wasn't coming unless I could bring him with me. And so got him in there. He's been here for all 5 years. My defensive coordinator, Cannon Jordan, has been with me all 5 years. And, we've really, really been good on defense the last couple of years. And then my offensive coordinator and offensive line coach, Casey Ward, has really helped, to develop the identity that we want to have on offense.
Coach, you mentioned last season, and we touched on it in the interview after the championship game. You went viral. There was a clip of you talking to your team, after that game, and just really you showed, a lot of character there. You wanted your team who were coming back to feel the pain of losing a championship game and to see the celebration, to kind of, prepare them for the off season. What did that, do for this team going into the off season? And do you think that your team really did carry that fuel throughout this title run?
I think so. I really do. I think that, anytime you lose, a championship game, it hurts you in a way that's a little bit different than losing a regular game. But especially that one where we could go back and point to probably 10 different plays during the course of the game that if that play goes our way, we would have won. So I think that it was good motivation for us. I think that seeing another team, hold up the trophy and knowing that you were 15 seconds away from being able to do it yourself really is impactful and, was a big motivating factor for us for sure, this off season.
Coach, heading into last season, you guys were, probably one of the favorites, especially in the lower state. You took some lumps early on, like you mentioned, they're playing some big schools, Northwestern and Somerville, and you maybe got a little bit written off with that loss to Hartsville late in the season, but you guys really righted the ship, played probably your best football down the stretch. What kind of clicked at that time there heading into the playoffs to get you guys to that state title win?
Yeah, I felt like, this team did such a great job, honestly, of improving every week. I thought that every single week we got better. And, weeks 1 and 2 playing Somerville and Northwestern, we knew what kind of games those were going to be. And we wanted to play in those kind of games to prepare us because, we felt like maybe our region wasn't going to be as strong as it had been in the past, obviously with the exception of Hartsville. But I think we did a great job as a team of getting better every week, of improving on the things that we did not do well the week before. We went to Hartsville, and honestly, we were down some people in that first game. They kicked our butts now. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But it's a 1-score game with 7 minutes to go, and then it kind of got away from us a little bit there at the end. But I think that truly, what we found an identity and found out what we were best at. And, we had 3 losses this year, but truly, I thought each one of those losses helped us grow more than any of the wins did. And so they all came at times where we needed to grow the most, and I thought we did.
Coach, let's transition to the game. I mean, an absolute thriller. You guys win at 42-41 over Westside there. We'll talk about that Westside offense here in a little bit and then some of the key plays. But you guys on offense, you mentioned earlier in the interview, is the strength of your team. Had 495 total yards, including 361 on the ground there. You know, you mentioned, and it's crazy now that we're talking to you, you mentioned how last year the offense wasn't very good and wasn't the strength of your team. Did you expect that kind of output going into this game when you guys reviewed the film and kind of felt that way, the vibe throughout the playoffs to get to the game there?
Well, I felt like we had to become this kind of team in order to protect our defense. I felt like we needed to kind of try to keep our defense off the field and really just dominate time of possession, chew up clock. When you play against some of these high-powered offenses, it's very, very frustrating for them not to have the ball and not to be able to run their offense. And so sometimes when they do get the ball, maybe they're a little impatient. Maybe they don't, make the plays they're supposed to. Now, Westside certainly did. But, I think at the end of the game, Westside averaged about 1.5 points per play. And so it's a good thing they didn't have any more plays. We really just need to dominate time of possession. And that was sort of we felt like that's what we needed to do to win later in the season, but especially in that game, just because of how explosive they were.
I was really impressed in that game by the play of, Jaden Sellers, a guy that missed a lot of last year. Everybody knows his brother Lenoris, of course, but he really came out with 7 catches, 121, 3 touchdowns against some really good DBs in that ball game.
Oh, yeah.
What is it about his game that makes him so special?
He makes big plays in big moments. I think that he had two touchdown catches on 4th downs, 4th and longs. We converted a 2nd or 3rd and long at the end of the game, throwing him a pipe route, across the middle. So, for that game, but really for his whole career, he made big plays in big moments. I mean, when we had to have him, when frankly everybody knew we were going to him with the ball. I mean, it wasn't. I don't think anybody in the stadium thought the ball was going anywhere else than to Jaden Sellers on 4th and long. But he made the plays, and I think that's the mark of a special player. Everybody knows the ball is going to him, just like with his brother. On 4th and short, everybody knew Lenoris was going to keep the ball and going to run it. But still not being able to be stopped is what makes special players, and Jaden's certainly one of them.
Like I said, we're going to look at some of these key sequences and key plays in this game. I mean, Westside was up 14, late in that second quarter. You ended up going for it on 4th down, going in at the 29-yard line. But Westside gets a stop. You had about 7 minutes left in the game. But you guys were actually able to force a 3-and-out there and go score with 39 seconds left in the half, to make it a 7-point game, knowing that you guys were getting the ball back. How pivotal was that? Because the game appeared to be slipping away in that first half.
Sure did. Yeah, for sure. I thought that, we went for it just because I knew that if it got to a 3-score game, that would be insurmountable. Frankly, we really felt like going into the game, we better not let it get to a 2-score game. But the way that the game was going, I just felt like, we needed to go for it on that 4th down and had a good play called, and quarterback just missed the throw. Getting them stopped and on a 3-and-out and giving us time to drive back down the field and score, make it a 7-point game, and know we're going to get the ball coming out of the half. That was, you're right. I mean, that, so many people talk about the 4th down plays that we did make, but again, our defense on that sequence, stopping them, was, one of those things that go into winning the game. A game is never won or lost on one play. It never is. It's always about 10 plays throughout the course of the game. If they go down to score right there and they go into the half up 21, we're probably toast. But our defense getting that stop, us going down to scoring and then scoring to start the second half, that was really, really big.
Coach, obviously, and everybody knows, your defense probably didn't play their best game that night, but they did make some key plays. You mentioned the 3-and-out right there. They get the big sack from Maury Adams late in the ball game. You get the 2-point stop. You get the late stop on their last drive there to, seal the win. What did you guys continue to tell them throughout the game to keep them locked in and help them make those key plays when it mattered at the end?
Yeah, I think that, by the time you get to a state championship game, right, there's no point in being negative about, the circumstance that you're playing in, just keep encouraging them the best we could. Look, we had an understanding of how much better they were than us, their offense and our defense. That wasn't a secret. But I think the biggest thing that we wanted to do, and the thing that we learned from playing, honestly, we learned this in the Hartsville, from the first Hartsville game to the second Hartsville game, is continue to be aggressive, continue to play hard, and something good is going to happen for us. So I'm kind of going back and answering your question, but I think our kids found a belief in what we were doing from the first Hartsville game. We weren't super aggressive. We kind of sat back, tried to keep the ball in front of us, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it didn't work out. In the second Hartsville game, we tried to attack them a lot more, try to create negative plays, tried to create turnovers, those sorts of things. And we talked all week about we've got to play hard. We've got to stay aggressive. We've got to try to make them make a mistake. And I think that the name of the game really for our defense was, look, they're going, and I told them all week, I said, they're going to get theirs. They're going to score points. They're going to complete passes. We've got to keep playing hard so that when one of those 10 plays presents itself to us, we're in position to make the play. And so really it was just a staying focused on the next play and just kind of keep going. And that was sort of our message throughout the game to those guys.
Coach, one of my favorite quotes is, adversity does not build character, it reveals it. And it seems like your team this year dealt with a lot of adversity. You mentioned the 3 regular season losses. You mentioned being down 20 to North Augusta in that lower state championship game, but it seems like your team just continued to respond. As you just mentioned, was it just a belief factor, or is that just something fundamental about your program that you guys like to respond to adversity? And how proud were you of your guys to be able to do that and, hoist that trophy down there in Orangeburg?
So proud of them. My favorite moment, is my favorite moment over my coaching career has been, when we've won and I've gotten to hand the trophy off and I've gotten to see our guys celebrate, because I know that it's not a celebration of that game. It's a celebration of not even that season. It's a celebration of years and years and years of really, really hard work to get to that point. And so that answer is, so special, so special. So as far as our guys responding to adversity, I'm just really proud that we've gotten our program to that place. I feel like when I first got here, coming from, I've been at Sumter for 11 years, and I can tell you, in those 11 years at Sumter, we never believed we could lose. We could be down by 21 points with 4 minutes to go in the game, and our kids at Sumter believed they didn't really know how, but they believed they were going to win. And I kind of just grew up. I played for Sumter, coached at Sumter, and I just kind of grew up in that, I guess you would say, culture of we're going to win, right? We're here, so we're going to win kind of deal. And when I got to South Florence, it was not that way. It was very much as soon as one bad thing would happen, we would just fall apart. And honestly, guys, I didn't know how to fix that when I first got here. I was very frustrated about it. So I became very negative in the circumstances where, maybe they would start to drop their heads and do whatever. And then, when I get frustrated and angry, especially on Friday night, that's not good. So there's a lot of growing up that I had to do and learning there. But I'm proud that we've learned how to work through solving problems, because I think that's really what it is. When you talk about overcoming adversity is a problem that you must find a solution to. And I'm proud that we've gotten to the point here where, number one, our kids believe they're going to win. They believe when bad things happen, it's going to be okay. We're going to find a way to right this ship, to get things right, to win. And then that we're very much, we believe in each other to find solutions to problems.
Coach, I mentioned it earlier, the critical stop there on third down, the Maury Adams sack there. You guys take the lead from there. Westside comes right back like they did all night long. They score a long touchdown pass, and they go for 2 there to try to take the lead late. Did you think that was something that they might do, and they ran kind of a trick play? Was that something that you guys had your guys aware for, like, hey, be on alert here? Or what kind of happened through that sequence there as they went for two to try to win the ball game?
Well, I after we scored to go up and kick the ball back off to them, I told our coaches, I flipped over to the defensive side and said, look, now if they score, make sure our kids stay out. They're going to go for two. One of the things that I think that we go for two a fair amount, because I think a lot of times when you do it and people aren't expecting it, it kind of creates a little bit of, maybe the other team wasn't expecting you to do it, and they're not mentally ready to defend a 2-point play. And so I hated to kind of be negative in that moment and say, they're probably going to score right here. And I really thought they were going to go for two. Now, what play they ran, I had no earthly idea what it would be. But I did think that if they scored, they'd go for two, because I thought that maybe they felt like they probably would, have advantage. And honestly, they had an advantage with their offense on the field and our defense on the field. I would have done the exact same thing, and that's why I wanted our guys to be ready for a 2-point conversion. Now I did not have any earthly idea what they might run. I just figured a 2-point conversion was coming, and that's what the game was going to come down to.
Coach, this makes 2 out of 3 for this program, the first 2 state championships in the school's history. You've played for 3 in a row. I mean, you've obviously just developed in culture, created a winning culture there. How does this, winning keep from, how do you keep your guys from getting complacent? How do you keep the fans from not having the expectation of a state title every year? Because that's very, very difficult to accomplish. So what are those things that you try to instill in your program to keep striving for greatness, but understanding that you may not reach that pinnacle every single year?
Yeah. For us, when we come back from Christmas break, we have a team meeting before we start, lifting and all that kind of stuff, where, and it's the same thing every year, but, for the younger guys and for maybe those who haven't been a part of that meeting every year, outline our goals and our standards. And we have one goal every year, and that's to win a state championship. It was that goal the first year I got here, and we went 2-6, and it's that same goal, after we went 15-0 and won it. It'll be the same goal this year after we go 12-3. There is only one goal, and that's to win a state championship. I think that a lot of coaches will tell you that shouldn't be your goal, right? That you should be more process oriented than, outcome oriented and all that kind of stuff. This is just me. Okay. I think that's bullcrap. I think that we want to try to protect our kids from a sense of failure. And, I'm going to be honest with you. I make it very clear to our kids, like, if we don't win a state championship, then we failed. Now, after you fail, like we did last year, you got to pick up the pieces, put them back together, and go back to work. And so no matter whether you win it or you lose it or you don't even make it to it, the process doesn't change from winning or losing, but our goal is always going to be to win it. And that's just sort of, I think anything less than that is a little bit cowardly on the part of the coach to set a goal maybe that's lower than that. I think that's me, right? There's plenty of arguments to that, but that's sort of how we do it. So every year when you have a goal to win a state championship, we understand now, because we've both won it and we've lost it, we understand what has to happen in order for you to win it. So I think guarding against complacency and the things that it takes, to win a state championship, our kids know the work and the pain and the struggle and the adversity that must be overcome. So I just think setting your goal of, we're going to win a state championship, now here are the things that we've got to do in order to get there, that helps guard against that, because there are no bones about it. When you walk in and say, look, our goal is to win a state championship, you guys already know what it takes, but now it's going to be even harder, because there's nothing harder than doing it again and again and again. You know what I'm saying? And so, we talk to our kids a lot about, you're going to get everybody's best shot. I remember 3 years ago, like when we scheduled South Point, me talking to our kids about South Point, like we're going to go play South Point, and I just tell our kids now, like, we're that guy. We're the guy who, when everybody sees us on their schedule, we're circled and we're going to get their best shot. So we have to train every single day in January, February, March, all the way till, whatever game we play. We've got to, we train to beat everybody. We don't train to beat somebody anymore. We train to beat everybody, because everybody's coming for us. And that adds a little bit more, to what we're trying to do in order to prepare to win a state championship. But Sort of a long answer, and but that's sort of how we do it here.
Coach, I got to mention this from the game. I just thought about it randomly, and it's not even really a question, but how awesome was the punt from Messiah Jackson there at the end to get to down him on the 1 yard line? You guys recover the onside kick. You don't get the first down. You have to kick it, and you pin him so deep there. Your quarterback with the great punt. How crucial was that, I guess, and just how cool was that moment for you guys to really make them go 99 and try to win the ball game?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm still upset that we couldn't get one last first down to end the dadgum game. And even worse than that, our quarterback, Messiah Jackson, who made the amazing punt, fumbled the ball. Thank goodness.
Sorry, Messiah. I didn't mean to bring that up.
That's all right. That's all right. He knows that. I still remind him about it pretty much daily. But anyways, yes. That was Messiah's first punt of the year. Guys, we really talked all week about, asking the Lord to honor our work and working really, really hard. That week in my quiet time, I was reading Nehemiah, and one of the kind of passages that stood out to me was, Nehemiah, when he had gone back and was rebuilding the wall, there were, some outside forces who were looking like they might come in and attack before they were done building the wall. And so it said that, he was rebuilding the wall while holding his sword. And so that's kind of the thing that we sort of talked about all week. And just, that was a moment where, I wish I could like put up a video of the punt like hits and bounces straight towards the end zone and then turns completely right and sits down right there. If you don't think that the Lord's hand was on that, then, you're just wrong. That was his first punt of the year, pins him on the 1 inch line. That was huge because, no matter how explosive of an offense you are, it's nerve-wracking to take as a quarterback, to take a snap in your own end zone, and have to go 99.5 to make it. And, fortunately, they didn't. And I think the field position had a lot to do with it. But if we'd have got the first down, that would have never come down to that. But that's something to work towards this offseason.
Let me apologize to Messiah too, man. He's getting beat up over this after making a great play. His first punt of the year, stopped at the 1 yard line. That's great. But Coach, this is a broad question, so I'll let you, pick what you want out of it. What will you remember most about this season? Whether it's individual moment, times with the guys. It's such a journey. Any football season, especially one where you win a state championship. But what will you remember most about this season and about this team?
I think kind of like I said, what I'm most proud about this team is how it would have been really easy after. So we lose to Somerville by 3 touchdowns, I think. And that was a 1-score game going into the fourth quarter, a game that we really felt was a lot closer than what the final score indicated. Didn't have any tailbacks. Felt like maybe if we'd have had them, we might not have won, but could have made it a little bit closer. They pulled away from us at the end. If we played Northwestern 10 times, they'd beat us 12. Honestly, they beat our brains out. And if we'd have been at full strength, I think they were the best team in the state probably. But after that game, we hadn't been beaten like that in a long time. After that game, I just remember being in the locker room or walking towards the locker room and not really knowing what it was going to be like in there. We hadn't lost 2 in a row in 4 years. We hadn't lost that badly in a really, really, really long time. And our kids were just sort of, they weren't distraught. And I kind of brought them all together and just said, look, we're done with this. We're not losing anymore. We're going to go, whatever. And they were all like, it wasn't like a rallying cry where everybody got real excited, but everybody was just like, yeah, that's what we're going to do better in practice. We're going to do this better. We're going to do that better. And again, it's not that we were having bad practices. It was just we played against a team who was a lot better than us. But, exposing, and that's why I wanted to play Somerville and Northwestern. I wanted our weaknesses to be exposed early so that we could work on them throughout the season. Those weaknesses were exposed, and I talked to our kids about that. They had a great understanding and handled the losses very maturely, in a very mature way. And we were able to grow and to improve and, obviously had the Hartsville setback, but from there grow and improve. And I just thought from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we got a lot better every single week. And I was just really proud of that. 2 years ago when we won it, I think that the greatest pressure was don't lose it. Because I felt like we were the most talented team in the state, and I didn't think there was anybody close. And, my point of that year was like, don't screw it up. Like, you are the best. Do not mess this up. And this year it was more about fighting to improve, to try to be worthy of winning a state championship. And so this was a little bit different than the other one in that regard. But that's what I remember about this group is they never got down. They never hung their heads. They never pouted. They just kept working, and ultimately ended up being champions.
Well, this has been great. I want everyone to go check out Coach Marlowe and the Bruins program. They do a great job on Twitter and Instagram, posting updates on their kids and their programs. Definitely follow them on there. Like I mentioned, follow us everywhere at Movin Chains, website movingchains.com, podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Movin The Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Jerel, anything else for Coach Marlowe before we let him go today?
Well, first off, Coach, I want to say congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us again. You've been extremely gracious to our program. We just have loved keeping up with South Florence the last few years. You guys have absolutely crushed it. Know that you guys are working hard already to climb that mountain again, and that's the goal, state championship. So you corrected me in that. Like, that is the goal every single year. So don't worry about that. I know you guys are going to get after it. Stay healthy, and again, just congratulations, and we appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate what you guys do to, highlight, our kids and promote high school football. Really, really appreciate what you guys do. It's really great for our kids and for our communities.
Coach, appreciate the kind words. Thank you for your time as always. Look forward to seeing you sometime this offseason, all right?
All right, sounds great.
Put Founders in the game and win big with our great rates. Whether you're looking for a loan or want to grow your money with a certificate, Founders Federal Credit Union can help you move the chains on your financial goals. Not a member? No problem. Visit foundersfcu.com to see if you qualify. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin The Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus, connect with fellow fans on our Friday night spaces on Twitter/X. No one covers South Carolina high school football like us. Join us at Movin Chains on all social media platforms and visit movinchains.com today.